Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi kepada hadirin yang hadir pada hari ini. Untuk pertama sekali, mohon sesiapa yang memastikan untuk sentiasa berada dalam keadaan mute agar tidak mengganggu perjalanan webinar. Dan sedikit peringatan sepanjang webinar, jika anda mempunyai soalan, anda boleh type di ruangan chat. Dimulakan dengan Q dan kita akan ada sesi Q&A di hujung webinar. Pertama sekali, sebelum kita bermula, sebentar tadi kita ada tayangkan beberapa slide untuk makluman kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan berkenaan dengan program PSS ini ataupun USM Postgraduate Supervisory Skills Course. So, pertama sekali, program ini, modul-modul ini, kursus ini dibuat bertepatan dengan sarana yang telah dibuat oleh MQA untuk memastikan bahawa setiap pensyarah itu mempunyai sistem penyelaan yang berstruktur. Jadi setelah melakukan perbincangan dan beberapa ini, kita telah membangunkan 3 modul untuk diikuti oleh para pensyarah. Jadi modul-modul ini termasuk semua sekali adalah 17 jam kredit dan para pensyarah dikendaki untuk melengkapkan 14 jam kredit lah setidak-tidaknya seperti yang kita maklumkan dalam slide sebelumnya. Jadi pada bulan ini kita akan bermula dengan modul pertama kita iaitu Good Practices. Modul ini merupakan modul wajib yang perlu diambil oleh semua pensyarah, yang khususnya kepada pensyarah yang belum lagi menggraduatkan pelajar sebagai main supervisor.
Kenapa Dr. Aidi join? Dia dah. Tak, dia bukan dah ada graduate.
Jadi tanpa melengahkan masa lagi, saya perkenalkan dulu penceramah kita pada hari ini iaitu Prof. Dr. Taksiah. Prof. Dr. Taksiah bermula mengajar di USM sejak 1996 lagi dalam bidang Structural Engineering Group, dan beliau merupakan timbalan dekan daripada 2013 ke 2017 dan kemudian dilantik sebagai dekan bermula 2017 hingga 2021. Beliau sekarang merupakan koordinator Disaster Research Nexus Universiti Sains Malaysia sejak 2010. Bidang kepakaran beliau adalah Earthquake Engineering, Wind Engineering dan Disaster Risk Management. Tanpa melengahkan masa lagi, saya jemput Prof. Dr. Taksiah untuk memberikan.
Okey ya, sekejap. Can you see my slide, Razan?
Boleh.
Alhamdulillah. Okey. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all the participants of this first module. Alhamdulillah, insyaAllah, this is the first unit that we're going to share to all of you. Thank you for joining this session. I believe all of you, there will be many reasons for you why you join this. It can be that because you were asked by your dean or your deputy dean to join this, okay, as part of the requirement. And of course, maybe some of you have a reason that you still need some CPD. CPD point for your SKT or LPP. I hope not the second one. So whatever it is, I do hope that all of you will at least everyone will correct your intention that this session is more on the sharing session. And inshallah, everyone, we hope that you can gain and enhance your knowledge in terms of the postgraduate supervisory skills, or in short, CDAE give the acronym of PSS, PSS at USM. Ladies and gentlemen, I will start with module number 1. As explained by the admin, which is Mr. Razan just now, there are a total of 3 modules. So I will start with the module number 1, good practices. And within module 1, there are 3 units. Okay, let me just, okay, so module 1, there are 3 units. I'll start with unit number 1, which is Introduction to Postgraduate Supervision. And of course, in the following week, there will be a second unit on the overview of the requirement and policy of postgraduate supervision. And last but not least, will be the third unit on the good supervisory practices. Okay, so the duration for my module, which is a unit 1, is 1 hour. Okay, it's only 1 hour. And of course, this module has been developed by a team which is led by our Sifu, Prof. Hazri, from the School of Educational Studies over here. And also as a professor, Dr. Saidatul Akmal from the School of Social Science, and of course myself. And we also have associate professor, Dr. Azman, which is from the Advanced Medical and Dental Institute or AMDI from the Bertam campus. So you can see that you are working at the main campus. And of course, the picture only captured 3 of us because the cameraman actually Assistant Professor Dr. Azman. Okay, so we have his photo here. Okay, so what will be the learning outcomes, okay, of this particular module 1, unit number 1, okay? So at the end of this session, okay, we expect a participant should be able to understand the definition and needs of postgraduate study, okay? And number 2, should be able to assist the transition process of supervisee from undergraduate to postgraduate study, okay? And the third one will be to develop good rapport between supervisee and supervisor. So these are the 3 main learning outcomes of this unit number 1. Okay, so I will covering 3 topics. Okay. The first topic will be on the very general. I think most of you have knows this, but a typical introduction. So normally we have a definition. So topic 1 will cover the definition of the postgraduate study. Topic 2, okay, will cover how to assist a student in the transition process from the undergraduate study to the postgraduate study. And the third topic will cover what matters for a good supervisor and supervisee rapport. Okay, so at the end, we have a short assessment, not only the one that you have to to complete for the CDAE, the CPD, but also for this for the target participant. Basically, you are required to do a very brief assessment. Okay, brief assessment on this particular unit or topics, right? Okay, so topic 1, I will start off with what is the postgraduate study. Okay, all right, so I just share with you because now this is the moment we are having aura of the convocation, the 60th convocation of USM. And of course, as a supervisor, we are very proud if we can have our student, our postgraduate student, to be exact, to complete their study on time, or at least they can finish within their specified time. Okay, so this is the photo of our DTSP. I believe all of you have been here for normally for supervisors. So normally you can be a school representative and you can see it in somewhere in this row. Okay, and of course recently we from the School of Civil Engineering, we have actually 16 students from our master program, MSc in Fire Safety Engineering, graduated in the third session of the convocation, and they are 7 of them are from Bomba. Okay, so from the fire brigade. So we are very proud to have the first batch of this abang bomba yang convo. And as a coordinator or as a school representative, normally you also will wear a robe, a very unique USM robe. But of course, I heard a complaint from the staff why we can't have the hat or the mortar. Okay, so I don't know about that. So maybe other person may answer on that. So this is the aura of having postgraduate, and supervision maybe is not something new among us. Okay, we have our undergraduate student. Some of you maybe already 3 or 4 years with USM. You already have a final year student as your supervisee, and you may have a project you have supervised, or other assignment that you normally give to your undergraduate students. Okay, before I proceed to this topic 1, basically topic of introduction is very dry. Okay, so I try to include some of the activity. Okay, so can I have a quick input, okay, from all of you, okay, on the number of ongoing postgraduate students? Doesn't matter, it can be mixed mode, by mixed mode, master by mixed mode, or coursework. Okay, it can be a master or PhD. Okay, it can be any level of the postgraduate study. Keep on type. Okay, I can see now the feedback. Okay. Okay, so continue, right? I hope everyone can participate on this. All right, good, okay. Okay, I think if I look from the chat, okay, mostly, maybe 80% will be under the category of A. Keep on typing in the chat. Okay, so 80%, okay, in A. Okay, and some of you, well done, already in category B. Okay, and actually I saw a few names that are very, the dean is also here. Okay, they want to check whether the staff is joined or not this session. Okay, all right, so thank you so much for the input. So I would say about 80% of the participants today under the category A. So you may have less than 5 students. Okay, and about 20%, my rough estimation, a participant under the category B, okay, where you have more than 5 students. Okay, well done for that. Okay, so with this, All right, okay. So by definition, okay, so I said typical introduction, we need to define something, okay. So as this module requires that, so I share with you definition of postgraduate study, okay. It's postgraduate is student who has successfully completed an undergraduate degree level course at a college or university and is undertaking further study or at a more advanced level. Okay, and a postgraduate study is a research-based program of studies that include the creation of significant piece of research. Okay, the novelty. Okay, we keep on hearing when our student presented during the viva. The examiners always keep on looking or asking, what is the novelty of your work? Okay, what is the knowledge that the new knowledge that you contribute into the board, into the whatever area that you are in? Okay, so basically, postgraduate include the creation of significant piece of research by a student during candidacy, which leads to award of the higher degree by the institutions. And of course, a typical duration of the postgraduate study, it can be ranging from 1 to 3 years. Okay, if you have a mixed mode or coursework, some of our program in USM, we have a 1-year program. Okay, so it can be as a minimum of 1-year program for mixed mode. And typically by research, actually the minimum also can be 1 year after you registered, you can submit a thesis, but most students will take about 2 years, 2 years for their master by research, and for PhD, it will be roughly about 3 years, even though the students are allowed to submit their thesis within right after their 2 years of study. Okay, so I'm not sure how many cases in USM, but we have a case that a student submit 2.5 years, 2 years exactly after their registration of PhD. Okay, and of course we also heard about GOT, graduate on times. Okay, so GOT, if I'm not mistaken, it will be 7 semesters. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe some person from IPS can correct me. And of course, 7 semesters mean roughly about, I think 8, 8 semesters for graduate until you get your Senate letter. Okay, so if a student embark or registered for a part-time, then the duration will be double. Okay, instead of 1 year, okay, that can be extended to 2 years or 6 years. Okay, but most cases there are students, we have a case of master sometimes up to 4 years, PhD sometimes up to 6 years. Okay, there are cases. Okay, but I'm not sure the percentage. Maybe IPS has the data. So this is the definition of postgraduate study. Okay. So the postgraduate study also has been designed to build on the knowledge obtained at the undergraduate degree level. So normally we assume whatever knowledge that the student obtain from their undergraduate degree will be the fundamental. Okay, so and often in the postgraduate study is more on the practical in nature, or to prepare a student with a better skill that they need in the workplace. Yeah? So completing postgraduate studies will help a student further their career prospect, and of course deepen their understanding of their area of study. Okay, so this is all related to the postgraduate study. So what are the motivations? Okay, motivation and needs of postgraduate supervisions. Okay, we know that for the nation progress, we know that postgraduate education plays a more pertinent role in generating new findings and discovering knowledge. but in general for USM, so USM bears a responsibility to maintain appropriate academic standards, okay, and enhance the postgraduate research program. And in the system of USM, the IPS has the responsibility for managing all issues related to postgraduate programs and the postgraduate students, including policy development and quality assurance. Okay, so we also know that the CDAE work together with IPS. They will ensure that the new supervisors, okay, or the academic staff who have yet to graduate a postgraduate student as a main supervisor. Okay, this is the issue. As a main supervisor, I believe some of you already been a co-supervisor or maybe to a certain senior academician. Okay, but here the CDE would like to emphasize the importance of the supervisor as a main supervisor, because for all of those who are target participant to complete all this module. So the module, as mentioned by the admin just now, that we have 3 modules. Okay, so this is just the first module and the first unit of the first module. Okay, so you need to complete all the modules of this USM postgraduate supervisory skill, or in short we call it PSS at USM, and continuing professional development with a total of just now Mr. Razan mentioned 16, maybe I missed out that, so maybe but this module is only the first module only 5 hours, but the rest I think will be followed by 6 hours for the rest of the module 2 and 3. So this is the motivation. And on top of that, we also aware that this is part and parcel. Why we have to do this? Because this is part and parcel. When we mention about quality assurance, that we know for USM, currently, okay, we are having our SWA accreditation or self-accreditations under the Malaysian Qualification Agency, MQA. Therefore, we need to fulfill or to meet the requirement has been outlined in the standard master's and doctoral degree in the 2nd edition of version 2021, that mentioned that the main supervisor must at least have gone through or complete the module of this postgraduate supervisory skill. Okay, so these are the things that we need to follow and comply, so that our SWA accreditation or self-accreditation status will remain, and of course the auditor from the MQA will come at certain period to check whether we comply to this requirement or not. That's why this PSS, the Postgraduate Supervisory Skills module, has been developed in order to comply to the MQA requirement. Okay, so motivation is basically something that drives or compels an individual to act in a way which is directed towards some goal. So as a supervisor, what motivates us? Okay, what motivates us? These are some of the points, not limited to this, of course. Of course, the first, for example, as a supervisor, maybe we are motivated if we can obtain a high achievement, and of course, feeling the need to score a good mark, whether you call it a PP, SKT, whatever it is, okay, and being promoted, okay, from a senior lecturer to associate professor or to professor. So this is something that motivates us as a supervisor and of course as an academician. The second one, of course, as being a lecturer, as academician, we enjoy being a supervisor as a lecturer. Some of us may take it as a reward, and of course, sometimes it comes also with punishment. Okay, I think once upon a time we heard about a love letter we get or we receive from our top management. Okay, on the issue related to punishment. Okay, so that is more on maybe to motivate. Okay, to motivate. Okay. And of course, the other one, the third one, what motivates us, maybe in terms of good research result for publication, something that that make us proud of, how we can contributes our research results in terms of publication that will be useful to the society, and of course to the in our research group expertise. And the next one maybe some of us that motivate us to be a supervisor or to involve in the research. Of course, you may mention M1, M2, all this, yeah. But of course, to involve, some of us, they are very active, involved with industry. And of course, some industry, they needs our helps in terms of our, maybe our new finding, our new ideas, our brilliant work. So they would like to get, they want us to get involved, and that also some of us become a motivation factors, okay? The other one maybe in terms of the originality and the findings of new ideas, okay? So we have a lot of ideas. Of course, to deliver it, of course, normally we will have a research team. Okay, so we plan to submit a research grant proposal so that whatever the new ideas that we think that we discuss it within our research team, if you already have a research team, okay, that can be implemented, okay, or can be delivered, okay, as a good research work or research proposal for a supervisee. And of course, the other motivation, okay, when we receive a student registered under us as a main supervisor, of course, the first thing that we always have back in our mind is that to avoid student fail. Okay, we try our best. Okay, we try our very best to help the student all the way. Okay, in whatever situation of the student. Okay, we try to help them so that they will get through. Okay, their master or PhD study. And of course, some of us may take the supervisory role is more on the competitive natures, okay? So of course, when we have a good collaborators, networking with other team from other university or other institutions, so the competitiveness of doing a research and networking and collaborating, that is part of the motivational factors for a supervisor. And then, of course, as we mentioned about the supervisor and supervisory teams, we know that for supervisors, it refers to a person or the committee that provide a supervision for the research conducted by the candidate. Okay, so this they can be under different category. So we may have a main supervisor. Okay, of course, this is the main target of this module. But at some instant, we also can appoint a co-supervisor. And the other category, we have a field supervisor. Or the other one, we call it industrial supervisor. Okay, and normally all this, we have a progress presentation, we have a panel of supervisors of a research candidate. Okay, so what's the difference? Okay, what's the difference between main supervisor, co-supervisor, field supervisor, or industrial supervisor? To my understanding, main supervisor, of course, we are the one who receive an offer letter. We receive from the IPS or our school mention this student has been registered under us. They will start from what date to which date and something. So that is as your main supervisor. So we expect, of course, 80%, 70% contribution, or it can be 100% is from the main supervisor, contribute into the progress and the completion of the PhD or the study. We also can nominate co-supervisor. Okay, this is true when we have maybe interdisciplinary, or for instance, in a typical school, we may have our senior lecturers that already established in their field, which is most likely maybe similar. It will be advantage. You have almost similar to the research area of that you embark, or you may have interdisciplinary that may be combined of two areas. So you can appoint co-supervisor from your school or if from the other school within USM. Okay, within USM. So for civil, for instance, you can appoint someone from HPP, can sometimes appoint someone from TI as a co-supervisor, depends on the topics and the scope of the research. We also can have a field supervisor, okay? Field supervisor means that we can have a person that working in the field, okay, that the project will take place, okay? So field supervisor, we also can appoint them, okay? Not necessarily they must also have a PhD, but at least they have the adequate experience and knowledge in terms of the field that we like to embark. We can appoint them as a field supervisor. So make sure, okay, you get their CV, bring to your majlis, and then you can nominate as a field supervisor. On the other hand, in terms of, I saw a question, so maybe I will answer that later, okay? So the other one, if in terms of the field supervisor, the industrial supervisor, so this, if you have an industrial partner, okay, that actively involved or maybe part of the collaborator in your grant or in your research area, so you can appoint them, okay, as industrial supervisor. Okay, so please use make full use of this in a way of facilities, so that we can acknowledge our collaborator. It can be a co-supervisor, field supervisor, or industrial supervisor, okay, for our student. And a research student in USM, okay, a research student in USM is normally supervised by a main supervisor. Instances where the project part of the project is not within the expert, as I mentioned already, so it is interdisciplinary, so may involve the industrial partner or the co-supervisor. Let me see whether, okay. I try to read the chat, I cannot, or sometimes. Never mind, I will go through after that, okay? All right, so topic 2, okay? I have 3 topics I mentioned in unit 1 of module 1. So topic 2, more on the how we can assist a student in the transition process from the undergraduate study, okay, which is more on the teacher-centered, to postgraduate students, which is more on the supervisory role will take place. So let's see how we can assist our student of this transition. So the transition from the undergraduate to postgraduate studies, normally, of course, we know the distinct between undergraduate and postgraduate nature of study. Okay, so as I mentioned, undergraduate is more on the teacher-centered. So we give informations and students try, I think more students, they just study for the benefit of the sake of to get through the courses. And at the end of the day, maybe after 4 years or 3.5 years, they will be graduated. Okay. But in terms of the postgraduate studies, okay, normally we focus in terms of the supervisions, okay, that will replace the traditional classroom. I know we have also a PhD by coursework in one of the school, I can't remember to be exact, okay, but we have, but most of the 99% of the PhD program in USM is by research mode, okay. And of course, the interaction between the supervisor and the supervisee is crucial, yeah, and it is form of the apex of teaching and learning in the postgraduate education. So student, we may notice that a student from undergraduate to postgraduate studies or within the postgraduate studies to carry to a research degree program is faced not only by the need to acquire or enhance appropriate knowledge and skill, but also to modify the attitudes, okay, to the new stage situation that she or he faces, okay. So this is true, okay, because we have gone through this, okay. We used to be a PhD student. We have gone through this. We have our supervisor during our PhD. So this is now the role, yeah, the role has changed. Our undergraduate student now become our postgraduate. We used to be a postgraduate student when we did our PhD, but now we become the supervisor for the student. Okay, so there's a sudden change, sudden the role, the role. So we need to understand the changes, and we need to quickly adapt the changes. Yeah, through my experience, I can see that those who just completed their PhD, when they came back and joined the school, and normally we may give them a group of undergraduate final year student to supervise them as a final year for their final year project. And I can see the title, the work scope. Sometimes, of course, they put a very high expectation because they just completed their PhD. We also sometimes not sure how to divide whether this is only enough for undergraduate, whether this is only educate for master's level, or this should be for a PhD level. Okay, so we can learn this throughout our journey as academicians. When we be part of the maybe postgraduate seminar at the school, or maybe we were appointed as the wakil dekan, or kan semua the young lecturer used to be a wakil dekan. Of course, there is a good exposure, and of course, also we involve as the internal examiner sometimes. Okay, so all this, we can nurture our understanding what will be the correct level or the level of acceptance to be the undergraduate dissertation, master dissertation, or PhD thesis. Okay, so these are the transition that we need to understand as supervisor. Okay, so how to assist in the transition from this undergraduate to postgraduate students or studies. Okay, of course, you can read many references, many journals, many books. If you Google, you type postgraduate supervision, nanti dia keluar banyak dekat Shopee, you boleh beli all this book. So there's a lot of material to read through. Okay, but I just simplified certain things. So of course, the most important is building a rapport. Okay, so building rapport that will improve our relationships between our supervisee. Okay, so of course we can start off as an icebreaker, telling our own story, because we also have gone through that. We have gone through maybe hard time to complete our PhD. Some of you may complete your PhD in a smooth way. Some of you may have a very curvy way and not a very straight way. Okay, so this is the story that's normally I share with my student. How I did my PhD and how we were, asked to do a lot of things and everything. So this is something for icebreaker. And later you also can ask for their stories as well. Okay, so what motivate them to do a PhD? Okay, if they are academician from other university, so normally this part of their university requirement for them to have a PhD. Okay, but they're also a student that they really into the research work, scientific, doing some. They want to learn. They want to learn about scientific aptitude. So this is and so there are also a student that from industry that they have a problem that they need to resolve during their work in their workplace. So they ask our opinion, and we sometimes advise them maybe that can be also carried out as part of the research work. Okay, so building a rapport between supervisor and supervisee, okay, that will enhance the relationships between supervisor and supervisee. And of course, we also need to help issues and solve their problems, and also encourage them the self-discipline. Okay, this is something that not only for a student to do, but I know as academician, we also have to have this quality of self-discipline and try to solve our problems. Okay, so as we go along as being academician at USM, so our student, they also a human being, so they have a problem. We also sometimes have our own matters to solve. So of course, that will improve. We can improve gradually as we go along with the student. And on the other matters is about learning the student scientific aptitude. Sometimes maybe in second meeting or third meeting, we can start ask them to write or read some articles. Okay, what you understand with this? What would be the title that you're looking for? Maybe some of them, they already have their research scope they try to do. Okay, and of course, as a supervisor, we try our best to help whatever that we can to make sure the work can be delivered. Okay, so of course, because my topic is only on the introduction to postgraduate supervision, okay, so and then followed by overview of the recruitment and policy, and then of course the last module, the third module, which is the good supervisory practices, will cover a lot of interesting topics. Some of the example will be given by Supervisor Dr. Azman later. I think that's towards the end of December. And of course, this module, will lead to the last module. And as we always heard, we save the best for the last, right? Okay, so learning content, mode, and style. Okay, we know that we ourselves also have various learning content or learning mode and learning style. Okay, so the major parameter in learning, of course, I'm also learned this term from the Prof Hazri Educational Studies. So we have this the content, what has to be learned, the context, where and when the learning is to take place, whether in the lab, whether they need to do, they have to carry out questionnaire survey, whether they have to meet person, whether they, all this, how to get the first data or secondary data, and the participant who are involved in the study, in the learning. For a postgraduate, definitely participant will be 3 parties. The first one is the supervisor itself, and the second one will be the student, the supervisee, And of course, the third one will be maybe the administrative. Okay, so these are the participants that normally will involve in their postgraduate study. Of the three, the participants are the crucial variable in terms of the success of the process, and each has a particular long-term and short-term motives and the needs, which we call it the why of the equation. And of course, as a supervisor, we need to have a particular preferred strategies for deliver the good supervision, so that the learner can learn both answers to the question, which is we know the word how. So in terms of the congruence and the compatibility between the teachers and the learner strategies is very important, perhaps a criteria requirement for the successful outcome of an educational program. And of course, we have three categories of learning content. The first I will cover in terms of learning content, what is learned, okay, both in terms of the practical knowledge, the skill, the techniques required for its acquisition and application. Of course, for the postgraduate study, not only include literacy, computer literacy, numeracy, but also a range of other communication skills. So of course that will need some active participation in terms of the postgraduates, our students, supervisee, maybe during our school seminar, presenting their progress, and we give them opportunity to present at the conferences. Okay, this is the learning content. The second one, in terms of the learning mode, okay, we know that in higher education, there seems to be a little call for memorizing. Of course, we are more emphasis on the development of the learning skill and research methods and findings way of applying the acquired knowledge. And for example, if you are from, if you remember in our Form 5 chemistry, those in the science stream, so we have this periodic table that needs to be memorized by the influence of valency on the chemical reactions. In terms of the valency, but the influential of the valency of the chemical reaction, of course, we need to understand the system. So it's equally important to know that it's involved in experimental, why we carry out the experimental, why the results show as it is, and of course sometimes involves trial and error. And the third one will be in terms of the preferred learning style. There are many learning styles. Some says 5, there are say 7, some reference say 9. So I think this is the most common. Of course, we also have a different learning style. Some of us are more on visual, some of them in the oral, verbal, okay, physical, logical for mathematical cases, for the it can be in the social, interpersonal learning style, or it can be solitary. So it depends on us as well as supervisor and our supervisee. Okay, there are instances sometimes when we have a discussion with our supervisee, sometimes we prefer to jot down, we draw some diagrams to understand or to capture or to take notes. Okay, but there are instances that sometimes you need some physical, you have to show them for the first time how to handle this equipment and so forth. Okay, so these are various preferred learning styles. And of course, this is general. Okay, this learning style implies to both supervisor and supervisee. Okay, and of course, since the preferred teaching style presumably derived from the teacher's our own preferred learning style, so he may well assume it as the most appropriate or particular content as a result or as an attempt to impose a preconceived and not necessarily appropriate learning style for the student. So we need to understand our student. So this is interesting. Someone shared with me this. This is supervisor classification. I'm not sure whether you belong to which of this professor or doctor. So we may, so some supervisor may see us as professor never there. Okay, be careful of that. Okay, that's not. Doctor, slave labor, no research. Or maybe doctor no new ideas since whatever it is. Professor change direction. Excuse me. We have a doctor lone worker. This is interesting, how people see, how supervisee see their supervisor. Okay, so we hope all this classification doesn't falls to us. Okay, so this is the typical classification that been portrayed by supervisor to their maybe respective supervisor. Okay, we hope we are not fall under this under this category of classification. And of course, we supervisor are human too. Okay, so of course we are not perfect. Of course, supervisor also a human. So of course. What is the ideal? Okay, what is the ideal? Okay, you can name it the ideal, of course. Professor that always there for you, professor that can solve your challenging whatever fundamental issues. So all this you can name the good classification of the supervisor. All right, my last topic on topic 3, what matters for a good supervisor-supervisee rapport. Okay, so for this, okay, of course, we need to develop a professional relationship with your student in the conducive to research intellectual culture. Okay, so of course, for this, for instance, we need a strong relationship, as I mentioned, to provide a foundation for student engagement, belonging, and ultimately learning. Okay, so these are very fundamental. Okay, and of course, we need to have periodically reflections, give feedbacks. Okay, so this is like we have meetings, maybe every 2 weeks. Some of you may do it every week. Some of you may do it monthly. It depends on the stage of your student doing their research. Okay, so that will at the same time, we need to maintain a professional boundaries. Okay, that will be touched under module 3. Okay, as I mentioned, I'll do some promotion for module 3 now. Okay, and of course, we cannot, don't use a student as your personal confidant or friend sometimes, and don't favor some student over others. Even though we know you have a smart student, some workaholic student, but this is, okay, this is like what people say that supervision, being a supervisor is next to being a parent actually. Yeah. So we have variety of character of the supervisee. On the strongest way of the teachers can connect with the student is by making them feel valued and respected. Okay, this is something that we as supervisor, we need to calculate in our culture that student, they should feel their teachers care about them. And of course, they want the best for them. And of course, we should have confidence in their ability. And of course, that will give they feel more respected and valued. Oops. Okay, so develop a professional relationship is, of course, there's several strategies. This is just some of the selections. There are many more, of course. So you can show your students that you care by contact them, asking how's your progress. Okay, so do you have any difficulty so far? So please wish them sometimes Selamat Hari Raya. I find out sometimes we are very too formal with the student. Sometimes we don't not even greeting them, wish them, you know. So all these sometimes small things sometimes matters for a student. And consider student perspective, develop mutual trust, practice constructive discipline, get to know student families, okay, their backgrounds, that will we understand. Some students, they come from a very difficult family. So we also, as I mentioned, next to being a parents to the students, so we need some time to hear what they gone through. Of course, we can motivate them and so forth. And of course, we encourage and inspire them to be brave, what they are thinking. And of course, we should recognize any small achievement. Maybe they have able to find the solution for a very difficult mathematical solution that they need to resolve, and they be able to solve it. So we said, well done, okay, that's good, okay, so continue. So give a very positive attitude towards your student. All right, this is almost the second slide, second last slide. Okay, resolve conflict. So of course we know that conflict is common between the supervisor and supervisee relationships. As I mentioned, we are human. Of course, sometimes there's a false expectations. Sometimes we expect very high on our student, but maybe the student cannot take it for the time being, but gradually if we guide them, she or he be able to deliver it. Failure to see the whole pictures, okay, that's another conflict sometimes. Personality clash, okay, that's common, okay, or maybe other pressures, lack of communication. And there's a word saying that supervision is like a marriage. Okay, of course, even marriage, even divorce is possible. There are cases that they change a supervisor. I think, I personally, I think if the student not able to deliver after we have helped them, I think we should open up that if you think that you would like to find other appropriate topics. So I think we should, encourage and help them. Maybe sometimes we ask them to do some computational work that they are not good at. So maybe they prefer some laboratory work. So maybe at that particular time, if we're not able to deliver due to the limitation, so maybe we can ask them to, find other topics maybe in the early stage of registration of a student. And there also another word saying that being a parent, okay. So being a parent, as I mentioned just now, being a supervisor is next to being a parent. So of course, there are many up and down. So we see our children grow. In this case, we see our supervisee grow in terms of progress, in terms of their postgraduate study. So this is almost in a similar context. So if to resolve the conflict of the supervisor and supervisor relationship, we can look at this table, okay? For sometimes we clash in terms of expectation. The first column, supervisor expectation of a student, if maybe we want them to be independent, we expect them, okay, you have to be excited with their work. They follow the advice that we have mentioned in the previous meeting, okay? They should be honest when reporting research progress. They should have a regular meeting, okay? And maybe produce a written work, not just a first draft and so forth. And the list can go on. But on the other hand, on the right-hand side of the column, is basically the supervisee expectation of the supervisors, where supervisee looking for a support in the research activities. They're also looking for a guide with encouragement, encourage open discussion of ideas. And also whenever they got stuck, when they try to drop by our room, they expect we are available for meeting rather than waiting for the following week. Okay, And of course, the supervisee also expect in terms of the supervisor ensure the final goal is realistic and identifiable. And of course, sometimes, because sometimes we have many students, okay, so we should show interest in their research and also assess progress objectively and provide honest feedback. So these are, you can see these two columns, okay. We on the, as a supervisor of this column, we expect this. As supervisee, they expect this, okay. So by looking at this as a big pictures, I believe with this, we can see now, because we used to be in this position, okay, as a student, okay. So this is what our expectation. But now we become supervisor. Most cases we expect them to be like us when we did our PhD, for instance, okay. But sometimes it doesn't go smoothly in that case, okay. So we need to understand case by case, okay. And by getting these big pictures, we can actually visualize, okay, or give some early whatever assistance for our supervising. All right, here's some of the strategies how to resolve this conflict. It can be understand your supervisor's expectation, as I listed just now in the table. Prepare an agenda for a meeting. As I mentioned, some of you conduct in monthly basis or can be in a weekly or twice a week, once a week. And of course, you explain the problem, leave your omission out of the discussion. Of course, sometimes we just maybe finish one meeting that, you know, we are a bit moody on that sense. So after that, we have the meeting with our PhD, and then you start, you know, say all this to your, being carried away to your student as well. Define in advance how you would like the problem to be resolved. Listen to your supervisor, supervisee, okay? And of course, listen to get the mutual beneficial solution. Put important agreement in writings, and of course, always follow through on your end of the deal, okay? This is, as mentioned, ideal strategies through Prof. Hazril. These are ideal strategies. But at least we can pick up a few points that, yeah, maybe we as a supervisor need to improve as well as our supervisee, okay? So towards the end of this module, all of you are required, I think, for the targeted participant, which is the academician who have yet to graduate a postgraduate student, as the main supervisors, to share your views, write a self-reflection on your views of effective supervision. This is a homework you need to do, okay, before your graduation, okay, so of this module. So please, sharing your views, write a self-reflection on your views of effective supervision, and CDAE requests you to share your view in e-portfolio Mahara. Okay, have you heard about e-portfolio Mahara?
Yes.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Okay, so I think those who yang apa working more than 15 years ni macam not familiar, right? Okay, so never mind. This is actually a program has been carried out. Yeah, I can, yeah. You are not alone. Actually, I also, when I heard e-portfolio Mahara, I never heard actually it is in our e-learn. Okay, so I think make full use of that. Okay, so this is the snapshot. Thank you to my junior. I asked them to share where actually we can find this e-portfolio Mahara. So there you are. We have a e-portfolio Mahara. Okay, so click there. Okay, when you click that, you can have the Mahara archive here, down here. Okay, go to that, and of course later you can see this Mahara dashboard. Okay, so start create, upload your assignment that given to you. Okay, yeah, so maybe CDAE can share the link. There's a video actually, how to create e-portfolio with Mahara by CDAE. So maybe we can share in the chat, or maybe you can email the link to this short video how to create this mahara. Okay, I also first time know mahara. Okay. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, there are some of the references. As summary, having PhD is not enough to guarantee effective supervision. Supervisor needs to remain supportive and encouraging at every stage of the postgraduate study. Supervisor-supervisee relation is like a marriage or being a parent, so there is up and down. Okay, that's not always ideal and perfect. Number 4, supervisor must understand the role and duties as well as the code of practice of good supervisor. And of course, finally, it is hoped that this module, the PSS, the postgraduate supervisory skill of USM will be used as a guide for new supervisors as well as a revision for the experienced supervisors. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everyone, and I apologize for any shortcoming, and I hope that will be benefits to all of you. Thank you so much. I pass back to Mr. Razan.
Terima kasih banyak Prof. Taksiah atas penerangan sebentar tadi. Jadi seperti yang dimaklumkan tadi, ini hanya merupakan unit pertama bagi modul 1 Good Practices. Jadi akan ada lagi 2 unit yang akan ni. Saya rasa dah disertakan link untuk mendaftar di email Hebahan sebelum ni. Jadi boleh mendaftar di sana. Jadi bagi saya sekali lagi saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada Prof Taksiah dan seperti biasa link pendaftaran untuk sahkan kehadiran serta menjawab survey. Dan sekali lagi diingatkan yang para peserta hari ini, terutama sekali bagi mereka yang belum lagi menggraduate postgraduate student sebagai main supervisor, perlu melengkapkan penilaian refleksi di e-portfolio Mahara sebentar tadi.
Ya.
Jadi, terima kasih semua.
Razan,
Prof,
Yes,
sorry,
saya.
ada
saya nak tanya yang
question.
Sorry?
saya nak tanya pasal reflection tu kita boleh tambah volume dalam kita punya existing e-portfolio ya kan? Just
Ya, saya rasa.
reflection from this lecture, right?
True, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay,
Okay.
right.
All right. So I saw a few questions, Mr. Razan, in the queue, but some Prof. Hazril maybe have answered it. I just pick up one. Is there any maximum number of supervisee that one lecturer who have not graduated any student yet? Requirement by MQA or USM? So far I didn't come across yet. I'm not sure whether IPS have set any. Of course, MQA also haven't set any numbers. So it depends on the school and also the capability. And the capability in my school, at the School of Civil Engineering, to my understanding, you may have 10, you may have 12, but you are a very excellent supervisor, so it shouldn't be any problem. So for us, it depends on the capability of the supervisor, and so far, to my knowledge, there's no limit yet set by the MQA. All right, so I think that's the only one that I will answer. All right, thank you so much, everyone. All right, bye-bye.